Live from the NBC Montana studios, this is NBC Montana Today.
Good morning, Montana. Happy Tuesday and the last full week of September already. So let's get into today. Concerns continue to grow as the amount of affordable housing decreases. Tools officials are using to remedy the situation and issues community members are seeing. Plus, Missoula County is calling residents to fill in spots on this year's election advisory committee. And a mistake leaves one candidate off the ballot for those sent overseas. What's being done to correct the issue?
We're coming up on 6:30 on a Tuesday morning, and temperatures are starting out in the 40s. 40 right now, Butte and Dillon, 44 in Bozeman. Kalispell, 43, 47 for you, Missoula. Little light jacket. It's going to be needed. Sunglasses are going to be needed. Sun's on its way up. Here's a live look over at Flathead Lake. Wetucknuck Resort and Casino weather camera. Quick heads up. Maybe you're going to take advantage of some of the summer warmth that we have in the forecast the next couple of days. Know that wind is going to increase in advance of our next weather maker on Wednesday. Here's a look at your day planner. Missoula 67 at around lunchtime, 74 that 2 o'clock hour, 81 by 5 p.m. today. So temperatures above normal for this time of year. You're going to feel some heat today in southwest Montana. You'll be at 68 by 2 p.m. Getting close to that 80-degree mark in the 5 o'clock hour. You'll be sitting at 77. So increasing wind expected for your Wednesday. I'll tell you how long it's going to last coming up in 10 minutes.
Starting off our day with a live look over Bozeman, and as happening today, the HRDC in Bozeman is looking for your inputs on updates to the Streamlined Transit Development Plan. The transit plan saw updates in 2020, but HRDC is looking to ensure the transit system meets the growing needs of Gallatin Valley. This 3-day period kicks off today at MSU Sub, today at 10 a.m., followed by 2 more work sessions on Wednesday and Thursday. Community members can attend and ask questions, share feedback, and even suggest improvements. To find out more, head to our homepage at NBCMontana.com. Now back over here in Missoula County, commissioners are calling all community members. If you have some extra time and want to help serve your community, now's the time to do it. The county is now openly accepting applications from residents to be on the Elections Advisory Committee. There are numerous open positions, so if you want to find out more, head to our homepage to apply, where we have all the information that you need. But the deadline to apply is by 3 p.m. tomorrow. In Bozeman, Mayor Terry Cunningham gave a presentation on the state of affordable housing in the city. NBC Montana's Brianna Carroll has more on what he says are the challenges and how the city is working to address the growing problem.
A pipe dream. That's how Bozeman Mayor Terry Cunningham described the prospect of buying a home for many families in Bozeman during a presentation he gave on Monday regarding affordable housing.
A study was just released saying that Montana is the most expensive state in the union for homeownership.
For the 55% of Bozeman residents who are renters, affordability is also a challenge, with half of the city's renters qualifying as cost-burdened, meaning they spend more than 30% of their income on rent. Cunningham said that's a growing problem for many of the area's employers who are struggling to fill positions from teachers to law enforcement officers as the cost of living in the city rises. And it's a contributing factor to the increase of homelessness in the area.
The housing market is like musical chairs. There are those who are left without chairs. And there is a definite corollary between a rent increase and homelessness.
Montana Code Annotated prevents the city of Bozeman from implementing many common tactics to combat the crisis, including rent control, price caps, and taxing second homes. Instead, the city is using a combination of tools, including low-income housing tax credits, the Community Housing Fund, and the Affordable Housing Ordinance to tackle the problem. Though far from being solved, Cunningham said those tools are working, with over 1,000 affordable units currently in the pipeline. And he said the city is actively looking at additional ways to generate more affordable housing, including land banking or a public housing model. Reporting in Bozeman, Brianna Carroll, NBC Montana.
The Montana Secretary of State's office is responding to news reports about inaccurate absentee ballots being sent out to overseas voters and veterans serving abroad. The Daily Interlake was first to report Friday, stating that when a voter living abroad opened their electronic ballot shortly after the system went live, Democrat Kamala Harris was not listed as an option for President of the United States. We reached out to the Secretary of State's office and they stated incorrect absentee ballots were not sent out. They say that their office received one report, as referenced by the Daily Interlake, of a ballot not displaying properly through the electronic absentee system, adding that the system was taken offline on Friday morning to correct the issue and was back up in the afternoon. They say the potentially impacted voter has been contacted and no further action is required. NBC Montana also reached out to Jesse James Mullen, the Democrat running for Secretary of State, and he believes the explanation from the state government is insufficient and more details must be made available to the public.
How did this happen? How do you make sure it won't happen again? And we have not seen an explanation for that from the Secretary of State. That's very basic information.
We also reached out to state legislative leadership for Democrats and Republicans, but have yet to receive responses back. NBC Montana will continue to follow this story, so stay tuned for updates. And that's not all. We're continuing our coverage of recently resurfaced comments made by Republican U.S. Senate candidate Tim Sheehy. A recording of Sheehy making offensive comments at the expense of Native Americans was leaked to the media earlier this month. NBC Montana's investigative reporter Bowen West reports Sheehy's finally addressed the remarks.
I've been following the story of audio acquired and shared by the Charcusta News exposing racial comments Republican candidate Tim Sheehy made at fundraisers last November. The comments lean into racial stereotypes of Native Americans.
You know, a tough crowd want to go to the Kroger. That's, they let you know whether they like you or not. There's Coors Light cans flying by your head right in line, but they respect that.
Since the remarks went public, the Rocky Mountain Tribal Leaders Council, Montana American Indian Caucus, and the Crow Tribe have all requested Sheehy make a public apology for the statements. I've reached out numerous times for an interview and have been met with silence, as have multiple news outlets. That is, until last week when Sheehy was asked on Fox News about the situation.
Well, listen, they'll take recordings from years ago, chop them up and make them sound, evil. They'll make me sound, like somebody I'm not. The reality is, I spend more time in our tribal communities than John Tester ever has. We rope and brand together on the Crow Reservation. We ranch alongside them.
Sheehy goes on to say the narrative is being twisted, then changing the subject to discuss claims that he is anti-veteran and making remarks at his political opponent. Throughout the rest of the interview, he doesn't discuss the audio. On Sunday, there were reports of protesters outside of a rally held by Sheehy and South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem in Billings. Protesters were asking him to address the comments. NBC Montana spoke with Sheehy's opponent, incumbent Senator John Tester, about the situation. Tester has served on the Senate Indian Affairs Committee since 2007 and also asked Sheehy to make an apology.
Multiple tribal presidents and chairmen have asked for him to apologize, and he hasn't. This happened weeks ago, and he still hasn't apologized.
I reached out to Sheehy's campaign again, asking if they had any proof the audio was in fact manipulated. I also asked if I could interview Sheehy, and if not, would they release a statement? My questions were ignored. I'm going to continue to follow this story, so make sure to tune in for the latest developments. Reporting in Missoula, Bowen West, NBC Montana.
Now new from Butte, one man is seriously injured after crashing his car into an apartment building on Front Street Sunday evening. Sheriff Ed Lester says law enforcement responded just before 5:30 p.m. after a Toyota Camry struck the east side of an apartment building across from Jiffy Lube. The driver, a 60-year-old man, drove northbound on Harrison Avenue and attempted a gradual left turn. Crews pulled the man from the vehicle and transported him to a medical facility in another city for further treatment. The car was totaled and the apartment building sustained significant damage, as residents of 2 of the 4 units are temporarily displaced due to safety concerns. The building's caretaker told NBC Montana he initially thought there was an earthquake.
When I came all the way around here, this car was inside there, and I went inside the car to see if he was okay, but he was all crumbled up. He had bruises all over him, and I said, "Don't move." I called the ambulance already. Everybody's gonna come.
It is unclear if the building can be repaired or if it will need to be demolished. And the accident remains under investigation. Officials say speed and alcohol are suspected factors. And now Chief Meteorologist Brooke Foster is standing by. And what's it looking like right now, Brooke?
You know, this morning temperatures are starting out in the 40s. Kiddos may need a light jacket or at least a sweatshirt this morning, but not so much once we get into the afternoon. Lunchtime, 62 feels like fall at around lunchtime, but this afternoon getting close to some summer warmth with those temperatures making their way into the mid-70s in that 3 o'clock hour. Similar forecast for us in Missoula. Temperatures starting out in the 40s. We'll be at 61 by lunchtime. We're going to reach into the low 80s as we head into the afternoon. Near record highs tomorrow, but also we're tracking the threat of a couple of showers and thunderstorms. I'll have everything you need to know about our next weather maker in 10 minutes.
After much talk, it seems a second debate could be a possibility before the election. Vice President Kamala Harris speaks out, and an exclusive interview with the Montana Free Press on child care service providers you don't want to miss. And now here's a live look over Polson and Flathead Lake from our Quatucknuck Resort Casino weather camera. Chief Meteorologist Brooke Foster has your day planner right after the break.